today we're going to do an outline of what needs to be done to present the app that you've worked so hard to create to the world. I have already created a detailed video of publishing to iOS that you can find on Viddler, Dave.
Yes, you can. I'm going to send out links after this presentation to everyone who registered, and you'll get the links that are mentioned today as well as the videos and stuff. So there is supporting materials for today's presentation.
Excellent. And I'm finishing up the Android publish. That should be done soon. I hope to have it done for Monday. And as soon as that's published, we'll also put that up at Viddler and send a link out for that. Last of all, since it's the least popular of the three, but my first experience with mobile application development, we will be doing a video on publishing to Windows Phone. So we'll have a complete detailed video on that also. These videos are much more detailed than what we're going to be showing today. I would like to show more detail, but there are so many things you need to do. I would not get through it all live. There are so many links and places you're jumping back and forth. So it's a lot easier. We did it with screenshots today, and we did some videos that are much more detailed than I'm going to be showing today.
Great.
So, okay, well, today we will start with publishing to the Apple Store, and an Apple Store developer's account is about $99 a year. Dave and I talked about this earlier, and we thought that might be a free version, but we're not quite sure right now. I believe you do need a paid version if you want to even test your application. You need to get a paid version of.
Yes, we did confirm that today. You do need to buy the $99 developer's account, which gives you other things as well. But it is what you need if you want to get onto Apple devices.
Yeah, and if you're not using Phonegap right away, and so you don't need to put your application on a device for testing, then you don't need to get it right away. It's just when you're really ready to test on a device, you're going to need this. You also need it to publish to the store. So if you're not going to test on a device and you're going to write to publishing to the store, then you could even wait until you're ready to do that. So the next thing that you're going to need is a Phonegap Build account. I'm going to show you how to set one of those up today. The Phonegap account is free to maintain one application at a time, or $10 a month for 25 applications. And if you have a subscription to Adobe, which I have, you have a free, that it's free to use. So you sign in with your Adobe account, and the Phonegap Build is part of that account. Next, we're going to look at creating certificates, identifiers, and profiles, which are files that we're going to need in order to create a provisioning file. And there's two types of provisioning files that we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating an ad hoc, which is just going to a device, and then we're also going to be creating, we also need to create a publishing version of the provisioning file to publish to the store. In Phonegap, we need to create what's called a P12 file, and I'm going to show instructions on how to get to the, well, I'm going to show how to get to the instructions on how to generate a P12 file. You can do this either on a Mac or on a PC. I have detailed instructions on how to do it in the video for the Mac right now. I'm going to do an addendum later showing how to do it on a Windows PC. It's a little bit different. It's a little easier to do on a Mac than it is on a Windows machine, but you really don't. You can do it on Windows, so you wouldn't have to have a Mac in order to do this. So anyways, these files that are created, the P12 file, the provisioning files, are basically used by Phonegap in order to create the IPA file for testing and publishing. We'll then create the assets we will need to create our storefront at the App Store. This includes getting screenshots, well-written descriptions of the application, and to help it sell, and along with other settings. Finally, we are going to use all these assets that we created to publish to the App Store. Okay, first we're going to go to Apple Developers account. Dave, I just realized that I probably missed a few slides in here when creating this. So basically, let me put my pointer on here so it's not the mouse, and I don't think that I can click on.
Yeah.
click on it. There we go. Otherwise, I tend to click on it, and then it switches to the next slide. So I actually can't click here. So this is the Members Center, where if you go to the developer.apple.com, you will see the Member Center over here. And if you click on it first time, I'm going to switch over to this. So this is actually the web now. Clicking on it for the first time, if you've never created an account, and you click on Member Center, it should bring you into a logon screen to log on, or the ability to create an Apple ID. And if you hit Create an Apple ID, it will then take you to the process for it's taking a second here to enter all your information to create your account. However, if I already had an account and I clicked on the Member Center, it would then just bring me to this next slide right here, which is the Member Center.
You already, by the way, Apple is kind of cool in that it's only one ID for everything that you do. So if you're a developer, you can use the same one that you use for iTunes, the same one for the App Store. It's all one big happy family with Apple.
Well, you have your developer's account where the developer software, you have the certificates, and then there's the iTunes Connect. And there's another login, there's another login to get to iTunes Connect. And I believe that's because under iTunes Connect you create a merchant account and information, maybe banking information and things like that. That one would be part of the really.
That one is different. Yes, right. Yep.
So that's a little different. So even though it's here on the Members Center, what you really get with your developer's account is all the SDKs and everything to build native applications, but we're not doing that. We're not building applications. We're developing Alpha Anywhere Phonegap applications to publish. And really the only two areas we need are the certificates to create all those files that I talked about earlier and iTunes Connect, and that's where you actually publish your store. So if we go to the certificates identifiers, there are 4 different types of things we need to create. We need to create a certificate, identifier, device, and then there's one more down here. I forget what it's called. You'll see when I get to that screen since I can't actually scroll this. Now the certificates, you have a development and a production certificate. The development is just for doing ad hoc. So you could create a developer certificate for publishing to a device. You can create a completely separate, or you can use a production even account to go to a device for testing, but also for publishing to the store. So you can actually have a group of developers maybe that you have registered here that are publishing the app. And some developers can only do it locally, but they can't publish to the store. So that's where the purpose of the 2 different accounts is here. Okay, the next thing you need is you need to ID the application that you're going to publish to the store. There are lots of different IDs here. That you can see merchant ID, app groups. There's a website push ID, and that's for doing push notifications. If you're going to be doing push notifications, I haven't done push notifications yet with iOS, so I would have to look more into this. But what we're concerned with right now is the app IDs. And app ID is, for this particular app that we published, is GDRNE for Great Dogs
Rescue of New England.
Rescue of New England.
Yeah.
That's it. And then basically this is created by clicking the plus over here, and you answer some questions. This is detailed in the video. Once you answer the questions, including the ID, which ends up being the reverse domain of your website. So in our case, instead of alphasoftware.com, it's com.alphasoftware, then dot whatever the name of your application is. The next we have the devices. The devices are the actual physical devices that you're going to be testing on. If you go right to the store, you don't need this. This is only if you're going to test on a device. You have beta testers out there that are going to be testing your application. You need to create devices identifiers for all of them. And basically, this is detailed, like it said in the full video. You plug your device to the computer, load iTunes, and the video shows you how to get to this number, which is basically a UDID, I think it's called. And
Okay.
You would do this for every one of the devices that you create. Now where that's used is, this is one that I forgot, the name provisioning profiles. You create provisioning profiles, and in our case we have two of them here. This one at the bottom is an ad hoc one, and you don't see it. It's because, you know, when you hit add, you don't see it right here, but there's an ad up here. When you hit add, you answer some questions, and one of them is this publishing to the store, which is what this one is, or is it publishing ad hoc, which is to a device? In this one, publishing to a device ad hoc, is where you would be using these device IDs right here. And also when you create this, you'd be using some of these other identifiers you created.
So just so if I can get this straight, do you mind going back to that previous screen?
Sure.
Right. So if someone gives you their unique device identifier, the UDID, by looking it up in iTunes, plugging into their computer, then you as a developer have to log into your account, choose the type of device, and then set them up, and that lets them use ad hoc distributions that you can send them. Is that pretty much how it works?
Yeah, you would select the type of device when you're creating your devices. Up here, let's go back to the previous one. So you have, in our case for this application, it's for an iPad or an iPod. So if I was registering an iPod, I would select, excuse me, not iPod, iPad. I would select this. If I was using an iPod or an iPhone, this, Apple Watch, etc. You know, you pretty much have to define what type of device you're publishing to.
Gotcha.
However, when you get to this screen, you'll see them all. So if you want to publish the same app to both your iPod and your iPad or iPhone, it would basically use the same ad hoc file, provisioning file you create here.
Great, thanks.
All right, so now on to generating the P12. I didn't get into too much detail here because this is a little more tricky. I do go into detail on the video on creating the P12 file, and there's some stuff you have to do if you're a Mac user. And if I were able to scroll down, I would see that there's instructions on what you need to do if you're a Windows developer to create this P12 file. And it's basically using that provisioning file that you created. There's a tool on Mac that basically generates this P12 file for you. Once you generate that P12 file, you can now use that in Phonegap to build what's called the APK file extension. That's for iOS. And basically what an APK file is it's a zip file. As it says here, this is the Wikipedia definition. If you're on building an iOS application, it's an IPA extension. If you're doing Android, it's APK. If you're doing Windows Phone, it's a XAP. All of them are zip files, and if you rename the extension to .zip, you can open it up and see all the files that construct your application that gets published.
Cool, good to know.
Okay, so well, now we're back into Phonegap. And Dave, by the way, if you can paste in that email I sent you with all the links. We see here this is Phonegap Build, but I'm going to send Dave's going to send everybody the links to all the sites that you need to know how to get to here. There's probably about 10 of them, I believe, in the whole total slideshow. But this is Phonegap Build, and the way what I'm doing here is I'm going to create the IPA file. In order to create the IPA file, I need to use that provisioning file and the P12 file that that's created in the previous step. And what I need to do is I get the little guy over here in the corner here, you click on that, then you click Edit Account. After you click Edit Account, you go to Signing Keys. And the Signing Keys, you see all the keys here for iOS. You want to create a new key, which was the button down here, Add Key. I'm just scrolling up so you can see the whole screen here. So you give it a name. So this might, if this was an ad hoc, I would probably put ad hoc on there somewhere like on this one right here, or deploy. I usually define them there. This happens to be the ad hoc version for the GDRNE that we just created. I didn't put ad hoc on there, although I should have. So you You do a click to get the P12 file that's generated in the previous step. You get the provisioning file that was created at, at, at Apple Developer, and that you can download. After you create it, you can download it and put all these files in one location, and then you click Submit Key. When you click the Submit Key, the created key, it creates the new file here, which wasn't, let's say it wasn't here before. And that file will be showing yellow, which means it's locked and you can't use it yet. In order to unlock it, you click on it and you enter the certificate password, and that certificate password is part of the previous steps that I go into more detail again. When you're creating your P12 file, you also create a password for your P12 file. And that's the password that you would enter here. Then you click Submit. After you do that, you see now that it will show in gray. That means that it's ready to be used. And you have to use it though within, I believe it's about an hour. If you don't use it within an hour, it goes back to yellow and you have to unlock it again. Okay, so now that we have it unlocked, right now you see iOS here back at the build page for our particular application here. I already had GDRNE selected, and since I already had it selected, it would have already started building. However, if I selected a different key file here, I would have to hit rebuild again. So once you do all this, you get you see that your IPA button here is green, and you can download, or that bluish green. I don't know what you call that, Dave.
Blue.
Blue.
That's what I think.
I don't know. I've never been very good with colors. So you click on that, and you can then download the file. And now you're going to put that file in the safe place so you can find it later on for when you publish your application. Next, what we're going to do is create the assets, and the assets that we're going to create now are basically the images that are going to be shown on your store when you do the publish. You can do screenshots on one of your devices. I have an iPod device that I do screenshots on, and I have an iPad device that I do screenshots on, because when you see a little later, I'll be showing you where there's the screenshots for the iPad and then the screenshots for the others. And what happens is you have to have screenshots for each one of the devices. Well, I'm not sure that you have to, but if you wanted it to show up on a particular device, the way it should look, I believe you have to put one for each in the store for each different size device. So you have a well, I'll show you shortly all the different sizes, but what I used to do, this is a tool called Sketch, and it costs $99. Now, Dave, I never heard back from them, but I'm hoping I still do, and we can send it later. But I sent them a nice email saying, hey, we're going to have a few people watching this, and I'm going to be hyping up your product here. Can we get a coupon code for this to get Sketch? And I'm hoping we're going to get a coupon code for them,
That'd be cool.
Or I'm going to bug them again.
We'll let you guys know.
And then we can send that out.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know so that we can, hopefully get a little, knock down the. It's only $99, but hey, let's knock it down a little. I noticed on their buy page when you go to buy now, that they have a little place for a coupon. So I'm going to see if I can get one of those for us. So this is one of the tools that I use, and then for free, and basically that's at Sketch app. That will be in your links.com. For free, you can go to sketch2appstore.com, which is also in the links, and get this plugin that goes with this to generate App Store images for all iPhone sizes from a Sketch. And that basically creates everything that you need for the different size devices. So you put one image in, and then it resizes it for all the different devices, so you don't have to have a device to do that or use a paint program to resize it and save it under a different name. So I use a tool called Sketch. And this is the one that we use today for the
for our conference. Yeah.
For the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I did is I used one screenshot, and I dropped it in each one of these locations here. So it's one screenshot for the phone devices, and then there's one screenshot for the iPad that I have here. And what it does is there's a, you can't see it here, but there's a oh yeah, actually there it is right there. There's an export button, and when you click export, you can export all the files. It'll generate all these different files, and there's some others that I haven't even used yet. I've been just doing myself. It can create quite a few other files for you also that you can use on your site. And basically, so it creates images for a 3.5-inch device, 4.0, 4.7, 5.5. It does Android. I use this, but I found out the images weren't exactly the images that I wanted to use. I'm gonna take a look at that again. I think I need to fix that one. Put a different image in there. But it creates a lot of the screenshots that you're going to need when you go to publish your application. So finally, that's where now we're going to publish to the iTunes App Store. We're going back to the Member Center. Before we were in certificates and identifiers, but this time we're going to click on iTunes Connect. iTunes Connect, we're all logged in. We're going to go to My Apps. This won't be one of the screens that comes up when I click on in iTunes. My Apps. I get a listing of my apps. I only have one app here for Alpha Software. This is the only one we have in this newly created store. If I had more, I would see them here. So I would click on this.
By the way,
app.
guys, if you want to take a look at this app, GDRNE, after the webinar, just do a search for it in the web store, GDRNE, Great Dog Rescue of New England. It was a pro bono project we did for a local dog shelter. As you may know, Richard Ravens, one of our co-founders, is hugely into dogs. and we had this application built that lets you scroll through and look at dogs for adoption. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's only dogs for that particular
just for that particular area. Yeah.
One. So basically, yeah. And when I created this store, I basically said, it's only for sale in the United States. There's no, I'm not even for sale for download in the United States. There's really no point of doing any work to have it published to be used nationally, internationally. So here's the app information. Basically, we fill in some app information. I believe this stuff was, like I said, this is also in the video, a lot more detail. I actually do all this on the fly to create this information. I'm just showing screenshots of it after it was entered. Some of this is done automatically. So here's the name of your application as you want it to display. Well, not as you want to display. This is actually what you called it in your APK file. Privacy policy, if you want to have a link to that. General information about the application. Simulate a scroll down here, pricing and availability, and the pricing availability, includes, where it's for sale. And right now, USD, it's only available in the United States. It's free. Let's see. A little further down, we have where I drag and drop those images. So on that previous page where I showed you that I had the down file area where I exported all those images in, I would grab all the 3.5-inch images and drag it into, click on this tab and drag it into there. I would do the same thing for the 4-inch, 5.5, 4.7. I'm not sure why it's not in order here, but excuse me. And then for the iPad, and I've seen recently there's also the iPad. There's a new one, Dave? iPad Pro, or
oh yeah,
have you seen that?
Yeah, I haven't seen the new. Yeah, nope.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it in the store yet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know
there's
after
iPad
I published,
Mini as well, besides the full-size iPad. So there might be.
But you use the same images for that. But when I went back to record the audio for when I did the
like the iPad Air or something like that? Or...
No, they had another tab in here. But I really didn't need to put any images in there.
All right.
I didn't. So I'm not sure what it was, but it's called something else.
All right.
They added a new device in here that you don't see here, but you'll see if you went back in. So as you can see, I have it prepared for submit. I did a 1.01 so I could re-enter the information in. So when I was doing the video, and that's when I noticed that there was another one. Scroll down a little more, and here's the description of the application. You can load the icons that you want to use, copyright information. This is all information that you'll be entering. There's no point in really telling what the information is here. This is your build that you would upload. This is actually the APK file that got uploaded. Let's see. Ready for sale, Game Center.
Just a quick comment from the audience. Wanda is pointing out that it's called the iPad Pro, and it's
It
wonderful.
is.
Okay, well, iPad
It is.
Pro.
Oh,
Thanks.
so it was the iPad. I thought it was the iPad Pro. I wasn't
iPad
positive
Pro.
though.
Yep.
Yep. So there's now a tab there for that, so you can, if you actually have a device, you can actually make screenshots on the device, and I would use those in place of what I use here. The other tool basically, you know, just resizes the images. It doesn't really show how it's actually going to look on the other devices, but I don't have all those different devices to create screenshots on a physical device to do it, so this tool just does it for you. Nobody really even notices or cares. So,
Excellent.
so here's some more information you can enter about your application. There's a features tab for, say, in-app purchases here, and I'm not sure how exactly this works with the alpha for in-app purchases. If we do anything with, do you know if we do anything with that, Dave? Or should
No,
we
I've
look into
never heard
that?
of anyone using in-app purchases as part of an alpha app yet.
Another thing that would possibly be used would be like test flight, and test flight gives you the opportunity to get your application out to all your beta testers. I've never used it, but this is where you would set up information for using test flight to get the IPA out to your beta testers, and then activity would basically show different versions of your this particular application. So if I had more than one version, I would see that here. And then finally, this is what it's going to look like basically at the store. So if you go to iTunes and do a search for this, you'll basically see the screen right here. And if you're doing it on a device, you would hopefully see the different screenshots for the different devices. iPad would have a little bit different from the other devices. So that's pretty much.
Oh,
Hello.
oh hey, you're back. All right.
Okay, cool. I hit the microphone by mistake, and I think when you push it up a little bit, it turns it off.
Oh, all right. Well, you're back.
I'm back. Okay. Next, we're going to do publishing. Well, actually, should we ask if there's any questions now, or do we want to do all questions at the end?
Yeah, if you have any questions really at any point, just go ahead and type them into the questions box. But right now we don't have questions yet, so
Okay.
move along.
Great. All right. We're going to move to publishing to Google Play. Although this is the most common place to find Android apps, I tend to stay away from it when searching for apps for my own personal devices. Although they are popular, there is no vetting process to screen out possible malware or inappropriate applications. Your application, as long as it is signed and passes some initial testing when you upload it, it will actually publish right to the store once it makes it into the queue. Amazon is another place you can publish your application and has, I believe, actual live people, because I've had comments and things that came back to change things on some of the applications that I published, and so they actually look at your application, make sure it's not going to do anything malicious. I'm not sure that they catch it all the time, but there's a much better chance that it's a lot safer, I think, to get it from Amazon. And then finally, there's the Nook, and Dave's going to talk about some others in a minute, but there's a Nook from Barnes & Noble. They also have a place to publish your apps, and they also don't just pass them through, they also check them. And sometimes they do things a little differently. I have different rules on how your application should work, and I found that out with some of my applications that I built when I went to Nook. They had some requirements for when your device goes into some standby mode, say your app goes into standby mode because you got a phone call or something. They have rules on how you need to come back from that. So, Dave, you were saying there's some other places.
There are the private stores, and we will cover this in a future webinar. I'm still trying to gather together information on a speaker for that one. But for a lot of people, especially if you're building apps for enterprise or corporate use, you don't necessarily want these to be visible to the public. You only want them to be visible to members of a particular company, for example. Now, we do have a partner called Aperion, and Aperion does offer a private store as well as mobile app management. There's also another company, I believe it's called AirWatch, that we're looking at as well. But you can also get private stores, for example, from Apple. So we will cover the concept of private stores and how to go about getting them in a future webinar, although what's being covered today is basically putting it into a store is very similar to putting it into a private store, so the same concepts and techniques really do apply.
Cool. So let's go play in the Wild West, because that's what
All
I
right.
call it.
Yeah.
You're basically taking your life into your own hands when you download an application. As I found that when I published my first application, which was many years ago, it was published within about 10 minutes or less. So I knew nobody was looking at it. But now it takes a little bit longer because there's a lot more applications. It takes a little longer to get into the queue. So, like Apple, the Google Store has cost to publish apps, but this is a one-time, I believe, $25 fee. I only paid it once. I've never received a bill since, and my store is still up there. They haven't asked for more money, so I believe it's just a one-time 25 developers fee to publish in Google Play. Again, this will be an overview for more detail of the video once it is published. Go see the detailed video, and that should be published, I believe, up by Monday, this coming Monday. In here, there will be a quick overview on creating an account. If you are planning, or if you are not planning to publish to, actually, I don't need that part of this. Sorry, I just said something that I didn't need to say. I need to remove that line. I will then show the Phonegap instructions on how I set up my machine to generate keys. We will then use that key to generate the APK file, which again is a zip file, to publish to Google Play. Same file for Nook or Amazon or any of these other public places or private places that Dave will be covering later. We will use some of the assets we already created from Sketch that we also covered earlier, and then finally publish the publishing process. It's going to be a lot quicker than iOS. It's a lot less complicated as far as things to do, but then again, it's still a little bit more complicated than Windows. So basically, Google's developers account, to get to that, basically play.google.com, apps, publish, sign up. Dave, if you can paste that link in there, it's a long one.
Actually, I pasted all of the links that you sent over this morning into the chat window, so if you guys want to just grab it right out of that, that's there, including the https play.google.com/apps/publish/signup is in there as well, so you can just copy and paste those.
Cool. So once we get to this site, we can then create, after we create pay our $25 fee here. Yes, it is $25. We can then go in, and once the account is created, we can now go to the key store, because we don't need to be in there. We'll come back to this after, but that's basically where you go create your account. We're going to now create a key store signing key. Back at Phonegap, before we were seeing the iOS signing instructions. Now we're at the Android signing instructions. And Android is a little more difficult because you have to do it in at a command prompt. It's not as easy to do it as although it's more that you have to do in Apple, you have to do it in a command prompt. The instructions that they have here, when I followed them, weren't exactly, were kind of confusing. You need to download, if you click this download and install link, you will get the Java runtime environment. However, when they go to set the home directory here, all the instructions here, they're actually talking about the Java development kit, which is a completely different download. It still goes to the Java folder, but it's a little bit different than you would be following for the instructions here. This is all. Basically, if you already have Java, you don't have to do this. All you need to do is find two of the files in there, and I'll show that in a minute here. Actually, I'm going to show that right now. You need two files from there. Basically, if you go to the program files, find the Java folder, and if you do a search for keytool, you'll see this is a keytool.exe, but you also need the jli.dll. What I do is I create a folder. In this case, I'm calling it Android Keys. I copy those two files to it so that I'm not putting this long path in when I want to get to the key tool. And I paste those two files in there, and that's where I store my keys. That's where I store my APK files when I am done, so they're together. These have to be kept together, the version of the key store and the version of the APK file. You'll be using the same version all the time, most likely, unless you use different key stores for different sites that you publish. But these need to stay together, because once you do a publish, if you lose this key store, you will not be able to make any updates to your application afterwards. So it's important you keep these in a safe place. I make backups. After this, I would probably also, so I have the key store here that I created, and I have the release.apk. I would copy these files and put them in a folder of their own, so it's a little easier to keep track of things here. Back in the instructions, we had what we need to enter at the command prompt. What I usually do is make a copy of this, because all we really need to change here is, most cases, is what's in these brackets here, that bracket and that bracket. So I copy and I paste it into an editor, and then I go in and change those brackets. So I have demo key here and demo key here, which is the test that I did right here. If you open up a command prompt, and depending on which version of Windows you're running, it will depend on how you get to this. You need to open it up in an administrative mode in order to use this. So you find the command prompt, you right-click on it, and if you right-click, you'll see the pop-up menu that says, and you'll see Open as Administrator or something like that.
And this is all covered in detail in your video, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's covered in detail in the video. So if you click on this, which will show in the video, you'll have a drop-down menu here where you can paste. Because if you just do a Control-V or any other type of paste, it's not going to work. You have to use this to paste into the command prompt. So I pasted into there what I entered in this the notepad here, whatever editor you use, and then hit enter. When you hit enter, you don't see it here because they're not going to show the password. They're going to ask for a key sort password. They're going to ask you to re-enter it. They're going to ask you for your first and last name, the name of your organization. These are prompts. You just after you add Chris space Martin, you hit enter after all of these. The city and the state, and once you enter all this information, it asks you if all this information is correct. Basically, it generates a certificate based off of that. Now, there's one last time that asks for a password, and you can enter a different one here if you want. There's two passwords that you can see that we're going to be asked to enter. I always use the same password. I don't have a different password for this because it's hard enough to remember one or keep track of one. But you can have this for all different applications that you're going to be publishing with all the other millions of passwords and IDs that you need to remember. So I keep it the same to keep it simple. So you just have to hit enter here or type in another password. So on to generating an APK file. You need to go back to your key signing area, and that's by clicking here in Build. What do you call that? What do they call it? An avatar or something of a person?
An avatar, right. Click on your avatar.
Yeah, click on the little avatar up in the corner. I'm not sure if you add a picture to your account, if it actually show you a picture, but...
and this is over at build.phonegap.com, is that right? Just because I don't see the screen. Yep.
Yep. That's from there. And click on Edit Account. When you click on that, you'll see this screen. And as you see down here, we have Android. I'm going to scroll down, simulate scrolling down the Android bow. And I think I missed this slide, but in here you would hit add key right here, and it would ask you for the name of the key. It would ask you the name of the file that you created. Yeah, I missed a slide right here, but that's basically what would show here if you hit add key. After you hit add key and you save it, you do a submit down here, you'll see that it's, again, like in iOS, it's going to be yellow. And so you enter the certificate password and the key store password, and those are the two passwords that I was just showing you earlier. That's why it's easy to keep them the same. And then you click Submit Key. Once you submit it, you can see it's gray again. You have 1 hour to use it. Back at the build, this is the GDRNE that we created for Android. If I already had this selected and I used it before, it would automatically start a rebuild. If not, I would select one to use, or if it expired. If I selected it here, I believe the pop-up message will come up to add a user password, so you don't have to go back and do that. Once it's finished building, you'll get the APK file. Download that APK file. Again, copy back to your folder here. As you can see, I have my APK file here for use later on. Excuse me while I scroll back ahead here. Okay, so now we're ready to publish to Google Play. We've created our account. After you create your account, fill out all the information. You're going to see where it's going to say it'll say add, and this will be in the video. Add an application. You click on that, and it'll bring you to the screen, which will basically show all of your applications, and you can add a new one. This GDRNE isn't on here. This is my other account where I have other applications published. But say I clicked on GDRNE from that screen, it would bring me to this screen, which is where I can add all the information about my application, the title. This one actually, I believe you can actually enter a title here, different than what the APK file is. Short description and a long description. You can enter images. This is some information about the screenshots. As you can see, I didn't really pay attention to when I dropped those screenshots in here for this. It was actually, I had to crop this stuff out of there. So I actually copied the wrong images when I put that in here, but it's still good. It still shows the application, what it's going to look like for now. Down here we can add icons. You do need to add a high-res icon. It needs to be 512 by 512. If it's anything different, it will complain here. You do need to have a feature graphic. If you don't have a feature graphic, there'll be an area where it says up on top, why can't I publish, I believe is what it says, and it'll show you different reasons, information you haven't filled out yet, and that might be like content rating, application type. So any information that you haven't filled out with, it'll let you know what you still need to fill out. Finally, we get to what the application will be looking like once we do a final publish, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, this is actually at the store. This is the first day, Dave. This kind of reminds me of the text message you sent me a while ago. Chris, put this as the text.
Oh, yeah, I remember. And then there you go. Yeah.
And I included that in the text that I pasted in. But so this is basically what the store is going to look like at Google Play. You can use most of these assets and everything when you publish to any of the other stores also. Hello?
Yeah.
Dave?
Yep, still there.
Oh, okay. I heard your voice cutting in and out. Maybe it was an echo. Still there? Okay.
Still here.
All right. We're down to the last one, the quick one. Finally made it to Windows Phone. They were late to the gate and tried desperately to catch up, but I try not to doubt Microsoft with Alpha Anywhere and Phonegap. There really isn't that much more effort to publish there, so why not do it? How are we doing on time, Dave?
We're good. We still have 13 minutes left, and as you said, this is the short one.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, excellent. Okay, so we're getting into publishing steps for that. Like the others, you are going to have to create a developer's account. I will give you a quick overview on where that is. Again, the links are there for creating the developer's account. Last I heard, this is now free, but I will have to check that there isn't one for a one-time fee now. I'm pretty sure there isn't. All I know is that for the past 4 years, except for this year, last year, I had to pay $99 each year for the developer's account. But I heard that this is free now, but I'm going to have to confirm that later. There will be some work to do in Phonegap, including creating an account if you have not already done so. If, say, this was you were only publishing to Windows Phone, you'd still need to create the Phonegap account. Assets, you can use pretty much the images that you created for iOS, so you really don't need to create new screenshots, but if you have a phone, you can create screenshots on the phone and use that to publish to the store. Otherwise, you can just reuse some of the images that we generated earlier. And finally, we're going to publish to the Windows Phone store. I have not started this video yet, but I think, do we want to schedule it for the next 2 weeks, Dave?
Yeah, no,
Or
yeah, yep.
maybe within the next month, I would say this one should be done and published up there, which will be detailed steps on how to do this. Like I said, Android is finished. I just need to edit it down.
Right.
So I'll have that done by Monday. We'll have that published. So both iOS and Android will be up there. Okay, so finally we're going to publish it in the Windows Phone Store. This is a long link. Did I give you this link, Dave? I may have.
I don't have that one actually in the link, but you know what? We will give out this whole PowerPoint presentation, and we'll include this link with it.
Okay, so we want to get to our developers account. They've changed this all around. It's a whole new thing. Actually, when I went to go to this to my site today, there was actually a redirect. If you don't get redirected automatically, it changed the whole thing around. Anyways, once you get to the site, there will be a page where you can see where you can create a new account, and it basically brings you to this page, which has all the information on creating a Microsoft account to publish your applications. Like I said, I believe there's no fee right now for that. Okay, so we need to create the Zap file. What we need to do to create the Zap file is pretty much nothing. If we're doing this from Alpha Anywhere and you said, okay, I want to build iOS, Android, and Windows Phone, or if you just had Windows Phone checked, there's nothing extra that you need. You can, if you wish to, add a publisher's ID, but you don't have to. It will still generate the Zap file. You can still publish that Zap file. I don't believe it asks for it. There's no provisioning files. There's no signing keys, and that's because Microsoft does the signing for you. So there's a lot less steps. Like I said, there's really not much effort to actually put it into the store, except for creating your page, which is what we'll cover next, is publishing to the store. This is my store for some of the devices that I have, applications that I have, a lot of music applications. There's the Alpha DevCon and another application I did develop for another client. So this is basically your dashboard for adding your applications. And there's a place here for create new app. When you create the new app, you would basically go in and enter the information like pricing and availability. As you click through these packages, descriptions, there's all links to all these things. So here's your pricing and availability that you would enter, and some more information below. App properties, categories and subcategories you want it to appear in at the store. Ratings is a little lower. Using Visual Studio, be sure to
So far, it seems as if Microsoft is the friendliest of all the places to publish to.
It is the friendliest to publish to. It's really pretty simple to add all this information. Again, there's a place to add your description. There's a place to add your images, desktop screenshots if you want. It's all basically the same thing.
So for these screenshots, did you use just what you had in Sketch? Is that right, or what you used?
Yeah, I used what I had in Sketch because I used what I had in Sketch. As you can see here, it says it gives some options here for the sizes. Like for this one, it's no larger is recommended. So I was able to drag and drop the images that I used for iOS when I did GNR.
Great Dog Rescue of New England. Yes.
Yes.
Does not roll off the tongue. Whatever.
So let's see, and then finally an icon that you want to display on the device and display in the store.
Hey, Chris, we have a quick question here. And is the Windows Store also for the Surface tablets, or is it, which I understand are more like full machines? Yeah.
No, the Windows Phone is just for the Windows Phone. There's actually a separate publishing place for publishing for the Windows tablets.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a separate place, but you can use the same. I believe you can use the same Zap file and everything in that I haven't tried it yet, but I do have a Windows Surface, and I will be trying that very soon.
Great.
Once I publish this application up there, um, see how I'll actually go to my own account and I'll add this there.
Great.
To see how it works out. But yeah, that's new within the last year and a half, and they were a little slow going. I wasn't in a hurry to get to the tablets because they weren't selling that good when they first came out. As a matter of fact, I put one on hold for when it first came out, and within 2 weeks later, they dropped the price in half.
Oh, that's harsh.
And but that was okay because
Oh, they didn't charge you the full price, though. Is that the deal?
the deal was there was something wrong. Luckily, with the one that I have, and when I brought it back, I was able to upgrade it to a full Surface Pro.
Oh my goodness. Oops.
So I was able to use the full amount to upgrade it. Otherwise,
we have a couple of them around in the office, and people really love their Windows Surface machines.
Oh yeah, I like it.
It's very popular. Yeah.
It's nice. I would love to have one of the newer ones. I have the 2.
Yeah.
It's a professional, so it's a full Windows desktop or tablet. But I would like to get the new one. It's got a bigger screen. It's a lot thinner, lighter. It really looks like a nice machine. They're great for working with. And if you really need a bigger screen to go next to it, they make these awesome USB screens. Asus makes one.
Yeah.
I brought one out when we had the developers conference,
Mm-hmm.
and you can hook that up to it to give yourself a little bigger screen to get a little more viewing area, and it's really light and it works with the USB, so there's no extra power or anything, just a USB cable to it. You sit it next to it. Off you go. And off you go.
Great.
So, anyways, this is what it looks like at the store.
Mm-hmm.
This is a recent screenshot. I went to the Microsoft store and did a search for my application. This is what's up there.
Now, you've built, the apps that you've built have sort of been, one teaches you how to do guitar, I think, and there's one for teaching kids how to do math. You've done some educational ones and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, I started out with one of the first apps that I did was called Math Time, and basically it helped out kids with, they were doing a thing called Rocket Math. You would be given 100 problems to solve within 2 minutes. So I created an application that would give you basically as many problems as you could answer in whatever time setting you set. So it would keep giving you different problems. You input the answer, whether you're doing addition, subtracting, multiplication, whatever, and some configurations. And the guitar app is basically for learning the first 4 frets of the guitar. It helps you with sheet for a new guitar player learning how to read sheet music.
Right.
So which is usually the first 4 frets of the guitar. So this tool basically shows you a note. You have to find it on the guitar, and you actually can sit there and play the guitar if your fingers are small enough on a Windows phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some other similar. There's one for the bass, and there's one called Airtime, which plays a note and then plays a second note. That second note is the note you need to find on the guitar. The first note is the starting point. So to play a note, so you know that is this particular note. Here's the next note. Where would you play that on the guitar? So
very cool. So I understand you're redoing Math Time in Alpha Anywhere. Is that right?
I am redoing Math Time right now in Alpha Anywhere, and it's coming out good. It's working out great. I'm going to be able to publish it for all. Right now, I only have it for Windows Phone devices, and it doesn't look the greatest sometimes for Google. I do have it for iOS, a different version, but these are 3 different versions that I have.
Yeah.
That I have to maintain separately. They're all native. I did them natively.
So you're going to do this now as one consolidated app in Alpha Anywhere and publish it all 3 places.
Yeah, because every time I go up and I do an update to a different store, I would always add a feature. So I went to Windows to Android, I added features when I hit Android. Android to iOS, I added features when I went to iOS. Well, since I'm going to be redoing the whole thing, I'm going to add new features and rebuild the whole thing and only have to publish it once.
Okay, well, that's a lot better. Yep.
Yeah, only have to write it once.
Great. So now's the time that if anyone has any questions, we haven't seen a lot of. We answered 1 or 2 during the webinar, but if you have anything else to add, now would be a good time to enter them. We have about a minute left. But if you think of something that you would like to ask, or if you get into this a week or 2 later and you're watching the video, by all means, send an email off to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com, and I will make sure that we get the answer to your publishing question. So anyway, Chris, thank you very much for today's presentation. Like I said, we will send out a links to the links that you showed today, as well as your PowerPoint presentation for those people who are interested, and
And the videos.
and the links to the other videos. Right. Well, the iOS one is up right now, Android, and will be up shortly. So thank you everyone who asked questions today, who showed up today, and thank you very much, Chris. We hope to see you next week, where Dion will be back with his normal Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A session. Until then, take care, and I hope to see you at the next webinar. Bye-bye.